Shedeur Sanders is the most hated player in college football this season. All right. But in my opinion, he is the best quarterback in the nation right now. And he's my pick to win the Heisman Trophy this season. Last year, he had a 27-3 touchdown INT ratio behind the worst offensive line in America. Going into this season, though, I expect him to at least throw for 40 touchdowns, maybe more, because he's going to have an improved offensive line. You're going to be throwing to a top 10 wide receiving core. We all know how good Travis Hunter is, but you got Jimmy Horn, who's really good. You got Will Shepard, who is a transfer from Vanderbilt. And if you can be good at Vanderbilt, having awful quarterback play, imagine how good you're going to be with Shedeur Sanders throwing you the football. You got LeJontay Western, who is another transfer that they got out of the portal, who came from FAU. I've seen LeJontay play live. This dude was literally FAU's entire offense. They would use him on bubble screens, wide receiver sweeps, but he also is really good when it comes to creating separation off the line. He's really good when it comes to getting all press coverage. I think LeJontay Western is going to be one of those guys that becomes a household name this year, playing with Shedeur. And rumor has it that he reached out to Shedeur Sanders to come play for Colorado. And then you got Marion Miller, who's going into his sophomore season. He's one of those freshmen that we saw get a little bit of playing time when they were getting blowed out by USC, and they rallied from behind in that game and made it a close matchup. So when you look at the talent that Shedeur Sanders is going to be throwing to this year, he's going to have a way better offensive line, an incredible group of wide receivers, and with the amount of volume that he's going to get throwing the football, he's going to have every opportunity to win a Heisman this year. And I don't see how he doesn't walk away with this award. He's going into a Big 12 conference that's not that good. There's not a lot of talent in the Big 12. And the gap between Colorado and the rest of the teams in this conference, there really isn't none. Colorado, from a talent standpoint, should at least be the second or third most talented team in the Big 12 conference going into their first season. And we saw how good Shedeur Sanders was last year when they played against TCU week 1. And the majority of these Big 12 defenses aren't that good. They're not really that strong up front. The Pac-12 had their best season that they've had in the last decade or so. Going against Big 12 competition, you definitely can expect for Shedeur Sanders to take advantage of the inferior defenses that he's going to be throwing the ball against. And with the fact that he's going to have so many opportunities to throw the football behind a better offensive line, I expect him to throw for at least 4,000 yards, probably have 42, 45 passing touchdowns, maybe have a few on the ground, and he'll probably have 6, 7 interceptions. But for him to put up the numbers that he did last year, only having about 2.5 seconds to throw the football, was nothing but impressive. And he definitely is a first-round pick in my eyes. And when you have a quarterback as good as Shedeur Sanders, there's not a chance that Colorado doesn't have of being able to win this conference. Plus, with you throwing to Travis Hunter, that makes life a lot more easier. Shedeur Sanders is my pick to win the Heisman Trophy this year. I know a lot of you guys want to disagree with it, but if you really take Colorado's 2023 campaign into context, you take Shedeur Sanders off that Colorado squad last year, they get blown out in every game, and they probably only have maybe one win at best. That's how important Colorado was. Well, that's how important Shedeur Sanders was to Colorado last year. There's a reason why Deion Sanders said, as long as we have two, there's not a game that we don't have a chance to win outside of when they got boat raced by Oregon. But even in that Oregon game, and when they played against Oregon State and UCLA, teams that had way more talent than them up front, just completely bullied them, and Shedeur Sanders got tossed around like a rag doll. And there was one point where you obviously could see he was playing through an injury. He had to get injections before the game. If Shedeur Sanders can have a somewhat halfway decent offensive line this year, which Colorado should have, he's going to put up some godly numbers this year. And I seen somebody on X say that he potentially could have a season this year equivalent to Joe Burrow's final season at LSU. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but he definitely is going to put up some great numbers with the wide receivers that he's going to be throwing to, how good the offensive line should be, and the lower level of play that Colorado is going to be matched up against moving to the Big 12. So Shedeur Sanders is my pick to win the Heisman Trophy this year. I know a lot of you guys want to disagree with me, but I think that it makes a lot of sense to bet some money on Shedeur Sanders winning the Heisman. People keep saying Carson Beck is going to win it. The thing about the Heisman is that the guys who win it, they got to have the ball in their hands a lot. Like Jaden Daniels, even though LSU didn't make it to the playoffs, Jaden Daniels was doing everything for LSU, not just throwing the football at a high level, but running it as well. If you don't have a high volume of pass attempts, it's going to be hard to win this award. That's why I don't think Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers have great chances of winning the Heisman this year because their offenses are well balanced. They run the football a good amount, and they also throw the football a good amount as well. If you're looking for somebody to win the Heisman, you want to pick somebody that's either going to get a lot of carries as a running back or somebody that's going to have the opportunity to throw the football a lot. Colorado, are they going to be more pass heavy this year than what they were last year? Probably not, because they do have Dallin Hayden, who's a monster in his own right. But this is still going to be a team that's going to win and lose games based on how well Shedeur Sanders throws the football. With everything that he has around him this season, I don't see how he doesn't win Heisman this year. My bold prediction, or one of my bold takes for this upcoming college football season, is that Shedeur ends up winning the Heisman Trophy this year.